Yeah, go.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Esports Conversation with LagosMums and the Lagos Esports Forum. We're so glad to have you. Welcome, everyone. Welcome. If you can see us, if you can hear us, just drop in your favorite emoji in the comment section. All right. So my name is Nifesi Adefila. I work with Lagos Mums as the programs manager. And with me today is Mr. Ife Akintaju. Please introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ife Akintaju. For the purpose of this conversation, I will be the co-anchor with Ifesi. I am part, as you can see behind me, Mobiele. I'm one of the co-founders of Mobiele, and I'm the Chief Operating Officer. And I'm happy to be here. So for viewers, if you have any questions, please feel free to put that in the comment section. I will go ahead and address it.
All right, great. So welcome again. And just to let you know quickly what we are going to be doing today, we are going to be having a conversation on esports. You may be wondering what esports is. I know some people might just be here out of curiosity. So, Miss Ife, can you let us know what is esports? Why esports? Why are we talking about esports?
Okay, thank you so much for that question, Ifesi. So esports, the full word is electronic sports, which stands for electronic gaming. So esports is now a act or a sport. Well, it's still debatable, but it's a sport where video gaming has moved from just leisure time to actually competitive um, scenarios where people compete for laurels, medals, people compete for prizes, and even people compete to, for the glory of their nation. So there are national teams now, there are teams who come and compete. So it's going to be an interesting conversation. Esports is no longer kids playing game. Everyone can game now, and there's an opportunity in esports just like how you have traditional sports.
All right, awesome, amazing. So today we are going to be having some speakers, people who are experts, leading industry experts at esports, and parents, gamers who are going to be speaking to us today. So I'll just be introducing and telling us who they are, and as they come up, they would introduce themselves as well. So we have Mr. Sayo Owolabi, who is the founder and CEO of the Lagos Esports Forum. And we have, he's here. Good morning, Mr. Shayo. Nice to meet you. Great to have you up.
Hi, Bessie. Good morning. It's great to be
Good
here,
morning.
and
Good
I'm
morning.
excited about this. The esports conversation was how we got into the game, that Ife and myself, and it's good to bring it back after almost 2 or 3 years now, in partnership with the Lagos Mom. Thanks.
Amazing. Amazing. Nice to have you here. So we also have Mrs. Yetty Williams. She is the founder and CEO of Lagos Mums. Good morning, Ma. Welcome.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody. It's great to be here. My name is Yetty Williams, parenting coach, founder, Lagos Mums. And I'm always very excited to be talking about, the future and the children we're raising for the future. So it's important that as parents, we have that information to be able to guide them in the direction they may go. So I'm looking forward to this conversation today. Thanks for joining and tuning in this morning.
All right, thank you. We're glad to have you. So, one beautiful thing about our speakers that we have is that we not only have experts, we also have parents of gamers and we have gamers too. So, we are going to be introducing Mr. Peter Chilembo. He is the father of Peter Jr., who is Africa's gold medalist of the Africa's esports. So welcome. We're glad to have you, sir.
Thank you.
And Peter, hi, good to see you. Good morning.
Morning.
Hi, welcome.
Thank you. Pleasure is
All
ours.
right. All right. So next up, we're going to be having the conversations. We're going to be kicking in and running in with that immediately. So our first welcome address, rather, we're going to be having the welcome address, and that is going to be by Mrs. Yetty Williams, the founder and CEO of Lagos Mums. Over to you, Ma.
All right, thank you, Nifesi, for the introduction. So welcome, everybody. This will be quick so we can get into the heart of the conversation today. What I find very exciting in the years I've been running Lagos Mums as a parenting community and hub is to see how many things have evolved and changed in the world, from future of jobs to AI disrupting education, to all our children, right? Being online, playing video games and being on social media, and a lot of parents who are the digital aliens, right? So we grew up in a world that was analog first, and then we had to learn digital. For our children, they were all born into this fast-paced digital tech world, and sometimes as parents, we're the ones playing catch-up. So it's really important, I feel, that for us to actually raise children who will become adults that thrive, who are flexible, and who are able to, adapt to the world that they've been born into. It's very important that we ourselves understand what is changing and how things are changing. As we were preparing for the esports conversation today, I was doing some research around it, I realized that the Olympics has now identified it as an actual sport. I also found some videos online, particularly with, I believe it's Shaquille O'Neal, where he was being asked if esports professional players should be seen as athletes, right? And it's interesting to see that conversation is happening so much more, that it was really important for us to come together, with the team to bring it to parents, really, right? If we want to be at the cutting edge of the future for our children, to ensure that our children on the continent, wherever they are plugging into all these new spaces and not just being passive consumers of it, right? To think that there is a future there. However, of course, which we will get into later on the panel around parenting children who are interested in video games, is obviously there needs to be the balance, right? So we'll talk about balance later, but right now it's just for you to sit back, have an open mind, and understand what this new space and what this new niche offers, because there's a lot of opportunities there. And I'm sure for some parents, you would like to hear the fact that there are universities that are offering scholarships, yes, for your children who want to go pro in esports. So it's a huge space, and I'm really excited about this conversation. And I think we should all just, take off whatever limiting beliefs you might have about this space and just come in ready to learn from all the experts that we have on board today. And then we'll have Q&A later as well. So welcome again, and thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Ma. Thank you. Thank you very much. So we are going into the conversation straight up. And right now we're going to be having Peter, Chilembo Senior, and Peter Junior. Peter Junior is an 11-year-old Zambian esports athlete who won the gold medal in Street Fighter at the African Esports Championship at the Region 5 Youth Games in Lilongwe, Malawi last December. So Peter, we are so excited to have you. Welcome.
Hi.
Hi, Peter. Hi, so good to meet you. Great. And good morning to Peter's dad as well. Interestingly, Peter's dad is a lawyer and he has supported him. It's amazing to see how he has supported Peter to achieving his dreams so far. So we're glad to have you. Welcome. Welcome.
Very much. Pleasure. Thank you. Good to be here.
Yeah, great. So we're going to be considering the first theme, which is kids can be esports athletes. So my very first question is to you, Peter Jr. How does it feel being the first gold medalist, the very first gold medalist at an African esports event?
It feels great being the first gold medalist. I won my first medal. It was a good experience. And I started playing when I was 3 back in 2014. And there'll be many more medals to come.
Yes, I love that. I love that. Thank you. Thank you. So, next to you, Peter's dad. I love that, Peter, that you said there'll be many more gold medals to come. And I'm saying an amen to that. And I cannot wait to see all of the feats that you would have in future. So Peter Senior, Peter's dad, how do you encourage Peter in gaming, and how do you help him not to just see it as some activity for leisure? How did you, help to develop his potentials?
Thank you very much. I really appreciate. And talking about support and and bring out this potential. I'm actually out here at an inter-schools games. He's a gamer, but he also plays a lot of football, and he's here playing for his school. So probably with the permission, I'll let him go and join his team and continue as I pick on the questions.
All
But
right, that's fine.
thank you.
Yeah.
But in a nutshell, it's I've been a gamer myself, growing up. But in this part of the world, I mean, gaming has always been just all about entertainment. And
Mm.
growing up, having these games in place, I introduced him to it, and games
Okay.
pretty quick. But now we got to realize with esports and what's happening that actually, like you rightly pointed out, this is a career that people can actually take on. So he always has my support. I think Ethel will confirm. Shayo, when we were in Malawi, I had to actually specifically travel to be with him. So for every parent out there, obviously, I mean, I could only encourage every parent to be there, both physically and also emotionally, to support the children. You can buy them all these games, but just know that, yeah, there's a future beyond just fun in the house when it comes to esports.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love that point. There's a future beyond just fun in the house when it comes to esports. And so, seeing this potential of esports, how do you think parents, what can they do? You said they can support them. Some people may be wondering, what are those things that I can do to support and encourage my child when it comes to gaming? What can I do as a parent?
Well, obviously, one of the key things is you need to get them the tools. Okay, so get them the video games, listen to them as well. I mean, we all know how important education is, and we don't take that for granted. But in their time, you'll find that they have got all these skills. Buy them the tools. They will tell you. I mean, there's kids of nowadays are so dynamic when it comes to the internet and understanding what's going on world over, gaming, online. So obviously, it also requires that you ensure that they've got internet in the house and they're able to take on to these games. But obviously, there's an issue of control that is also key. Just make sure you're looking out for what it is that they're actually really doing when they're online and playing their games. But yeah, just give them the tools.
All right. All right. Oh, thank you. I love those pictures. So these are pictures of Peter Jr. at when he won the gold medal at the African Esports Games in Malawi last year. And that's also the first runner up as well. So thank you so much, Mr. Peter. Thank you for being here, and thank you for answering those questions. Now, I believe for as many parents who are on this call, they can hear first and they have an example. They know what to do and how they can support their children when it comes to esports and gaming. So
Absolutely.
over
Thank
to
you.
you.
Appreciate.
Thank you, sir. All right. Over to you, Mr. Ife.
That was really, really interesting. Because it was personable for me because I was actually there when he was competing, and I think I can bring Yetty and Sayo in on this. Is when we're having that tournament, I looked at him, and it's always good not to judge a book by its cover. I looked at him, and I was like, he's young. I don't think he was going to win. I was like, probably he would get something, but not that first place. And Shai was like, careful, don't just judge a book by its cover. You never know.
Exactly.
And my mouth was opened all through because he was very, very good. So,
Wow.
it's and it just goes to show how much how far you can go when there's support from parents. Because the father came from Zambia, like he said, to Malawi, and it was really, really interesting. And I know, I've been having that conversation a lot with Yeti about parents supporting, and it was just a wonderful example for me. And I think, viewers, parents who are watching this will be able to pick one or two things from this. And I believe we can jump to the next topic of how parents can actually support.
Can I just add something? If
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, for me, like you said, it was a personable experience in Malawi, St. Peter, and it was the youngest of all the participants, by the way. And one thing that stood out for me was the fact that if as he's playing football now, you would be shocked that there are still a few things they would not allow him to do because there will be people who are bigger than him. They'll probably say he can't play defense. You need to play maybe in attack where they would just float the ball to him and he can score. There are limitations with physical sports, but with esports, it's down to this and this. Mental ability and how fast you are with your hand, connecting your mind to your hands and getting it done. And that has nothing to do with size. And that's the edge that esports, without any conflict or controversy, has over as traditional sports, because that comes down to how physical you are. If it's football, if it's if it's tennis, you're talking about what's your build. If it's golf, all those that are there. But when it's esports, it's in the mind, and I think that was what, and I believe that was what Peter took into that final match, and we saw the difference between him and his opponents in the final. So that for me is something the parents must also see, that kids may be disadvantaged in traditional sports most of the time. I played football growing up. I have a very slim frame, so I can relate with that experience. But esports has no limits as long as you can connect your mind to your hands to get your controller to do the job for you, basically.
All right. Amazing. Thank you.
Thank you for
Thank
that,
you so
Sayo.
much.
So Nifesi, we do have Cholwe, she's here. So
Okay.
we can bring her up so we can discuss.
All right. Hi.
Hello, Cholwe.
Hi, everyone. Hi.
Hi. Good morning,
Hi.
Chloe.
Good
Hi.
morning,
Nice to meet
Miss
you.
Jessie.
Yes.
Nice to meet
You're
you too.
correct. Good morning. Nice. It's great to have you on board. Thank you so much for joining us. So, everyone, Chilowe is the founder and CEO of Team Gemetrix, an esports team in Zambia, and she's also the Secretary General of the Zambia Esports Federation. So it's great to have you on board. Thank you for joining us and giving us your time, Chilowe.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. All right. So we'll be going into the questions. Can you please tell us a bit about your journey into esports, especially saying that you're a female founder in esports? Can you tell us what that is about?
Yeah, so I'll give you a nutshell. Basically, I started off as a casual gamer. I'm still very much of a casual gamer. My gaming journey started when I was about 5 or 6. Grew up around a lot of male cousins, so they were an influence on my childhood. And I got into PlayStation 2, played games like Mortal Kombat and Tekken, played a bunch of Sega games like Contra, Super Mario, and then I got into the gist of gaming, just falling in love with gaming. Then there was a time when there was some DVD, more like a DVD device, and they used to come with like a CD for free games. So I really went all out into gaming as a kid. But my pivotal moment when I realized there was something like esports was when I attended a Nedotaku event locally called the Meet in 2015. And there I saw a lot of players playing Mortal Kombat 9. And then I got to see the whole thing about brackets and people winning prize money. And it was exciting to see because the only semblance of that I saw was like in the ghettos or the high dense areas here in Zambia. We have game centers where people play, but it wasn't in the capacity of you playing for prize money or prize. And after that, in 2017, I decided to create a business that was centered around gaming and sustainable, even though it was a challenge. So I learned a lot when I incubated at a startup hub called Bongo High, and I learned more about thinking like a business person and not just like a gamer. That's when I founded Team Gemetrix with my co-founder Prince Musole, and we signed a couple of players to the team. And then immediately after we signed the team, the next month we were in Kenya for the PSG Pro Series Gaming Championship Motor Combat Expo, invited by Barack Awafula, my late friend, and the team. And we won the championship, and it was a great start for us because it proved the model, it proved the concept. And ever since then, we've just gone guns blazing. We've had content creators and players in Zambia, in the US. We've won over 6 Sub-Saharan Africa Championships Motor Combat, and won a couple of tournaments in the US with our former player, Han Rashid. And we also have a new co-founder called Dr. Bruce Dunham, who's been very supportive in terms of strategy and us really focusing on building the business strongly towards sustainability. So that's been my journey in esports as a female. When it comes to, say, inspiration from other female people in the space, I haven't really had that locally on the continent. So I've had to learn vicariously through other people's experiences. So that means immersing myself heavily into YouTube and Google, and who are the active players in the region and also outside the region in Europe and the US, and learning from other people's failures and experiences, so that I don't repeat other people's failures, but I actually find a clever way to maneuver them. So that's my journey so far in esports.
Wow. That's a lot you're able to pack into a few minutes. That's a whole long journey from 6 with your brothers and everything. That's amazing. Seeing you mentioned something that you didn't have a lot of example as a lady in esports. You didn't have, so you had to like check outside the continent. So what do you think? How do you think we can correct that misconception that esports, just like traditional sport, caters to just boys or men?
Yeah, I think we've already started the foundation. I think the first thing that needs to be done is to accept that there's a problem, and we've all accepted that there's a problem, which is good. A lot of us are opening our eyes to the reality that a lot of female gamers are alienated from the pro side of gaming. So we remain casual and we just play in our homes, you know. But now that we realize the problem, it's very key that we find more organizations that are ready to really stand in and influence change, create female programs around gaming, female incubation programs around gaming, female tournaments. I know that ideally, personally, I wouldn't advocate for female-only tournaments, only because we are accepting that we're different from the males. But I understand that for a start, for us to make the female gamer feel comfortable, we need to start from that angle and then get into the point where we actually mix the male and female gamers to play collectively together. Because I feel once that happens, we won't really have that segmentation to say, oh, girl gamer, boy gamer, you know. I don't really like that terminology, girl gamer. I believe we're all gamers. So the beauty about it is, unlike physical sports, where your physicality could determine how you would perform in the overall of the tournament, with gaming, males and females both have hands, we both have cognitive sense, we both have eyes, we can do the same thing. It's not like swimming, you know, we had that whole LGBTQ situation where an LGBTQ man started playing in female tournaments and he actually won. But that doesn't relate in esports because we all play the same game. You're good, you're good, you're bad, you're bad. You don't know the combos, you don't know the combos. You don't know the rules, you don't know the rules. So that's the beauty about esports, is that we can adjust in an innovative way when it comes to these things. So I'm hoping that, you know, with organizations like the Global Esports Federation and the Africa Esports Development Federation, like we can create programs Africa-wise that can really propel us in structure towards empowering the female gamer. So I'm looking forward to seeing what I can do to make sure that I'm a force in the forefront to do this as well.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. So you mentioned something when you answered like the previous question about how that you got into esports as a kid because you had like brothers, you know. So how do you think girls can get into esports? Because you mentioned that, or maybe starting with an all-female esport thing would make them comfortable. So how do you think that girls can get into esports as well?
Yeah. I think first and foremost, before you get into the pro, you have to go through the casual phase. So I'd encourage a lot of girls to casually play games before they think of getting into it as pros. So you don't just become a pro overnight. For example, Cristiano Ronaldo, Messi, all the best players you can think of had to go through academy, right? Until they got to the level where they were able to go through the semi-pro team and then the pro team. So it's the same with gaming. So I believe gamer girls should start from where they can. So you start with what you have. You look at yourself and look at your situation. Okay, I have a mobile phone. It's a smartphone. It can run PUBG. It can run Free Fire. It can run mobile Bang Bang. It can run Call of Duty Mobile. Start there. Start playing. You can join clans within the game. You can also join community WhatsApp groups. You can be actively present in what's happening. A lot of clans around the continent, even on the Mobiele app, are always playing tournaments. They're playing weekly tournaments. They're accessing more experience. So build your experience. And also, other than that, before you start thinking pro, you also need to understand that once you get into the pro side of things, you're creating a brand for yourself. So you also have to create a story. You have to build your story. So okay, I'm Cholwe. I started playing on a smartphone because I couldn't afford a PS4, PS5. Now I'm playing Call of Duty and I'm pretty good. I'm killing it. And now I'm I'm now getting into being more active in the pro side of things. So I'm creating my own brand. Create your own Facebook page with your acronym, with your gamer acronym. And then start building content, whether it's photos of you gaming, whether it's cute TikTok videos of you dancing to a League of Legends soundtrack, whether it's you collaborating with other gaming creators across the world, because we're no longer bordered as we used to be when it comes to technology and gaming. Gamers are the most united community around the world. You could have friends from each corner of the earth, and you could create content with each other to build your brand. There are a lot of groups, for example, I'm in a lot of gamer Call of Duty mobile groups, a lot of Apex mobile groups on Facebook, and we communicate, and there's collaboration there. So you can build from there, build your brand, build your experience, and also enjoy it. Games are fun, and they're also a way for us to get away from the hurdles of life. So I should say you can start there, start casual. Don't rush into the pro side of things. Everything starts from somewhere. There's an African saying, I don't know if it's African or it's a global saying, but it says you can't eat an elephant at once. You have to eat it one bite at a time. So start casual, build your brand, and then you eventually get to the pro side of things. By the time you get into the pro side of things, I'm sure the Global Esports Federation, Gemetrix, Mobiele will be ready for you with our female leagues and our female programs, giving you grants to buy your setups and all that jazz. So we got you. So start casual.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I love this point. That was so well put together. You have to start casual, start where you are, start with what you have, build a brand, join communities, network. And by the time you're ready, Mobiele and Gemetrix will be ready for you too. Thank you so much, Cholwe.
Thank you so much,
Cholwe.
You're welcome.
That was quite interesting. So I'll bring up Yetty, and I'll bring up Sayo. And just the fun facts, I'm sure this would also interest Yetty, is that as much as we're talking about how ladies and girls can go into gaming, statistics of mobile gaming, you have more females playing mobile games globally, even in Africa, than men, surprisingly.
Wow.
Interesting.
Wow.
Wow.
Interesting, really interesting.
Amazing. That last session with Chloe was really interesting.
Okay, so we can jump to the last topic.
See that.
Okay.
Yeah. Parents supporting their gamer kids. And we have Mr. Sayo Owolabi and Mrs. Yetty Williams again up here. So welcome back once again, if I can say that.
Thank you, Percy.
So
Thank you.
yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. So my first question is to you, Mr. Sayo. Can you please tell us a bit about your journey into esports?
Okay, so my journey is just about 3 years. It started during lockdown. My background is in sports media and marketing. That's my professional background. My educational background is law. Last year I made it 15 years post-call to the Nigerian bar. But I never practiced for one day. I've always been in the media space, even while I was in school. But when I was done with school, I focused on sports. So sports media and marketing. I've done content on radio, TV, for different brands. Over the years, I've covered World Cups, Nations Cup, and a couple of other sporting events with the Nigerian team and also on the global stage. So COVID struck in March. I think that was lockdown, February, March 2020. There was really nothing to do and in terms of business because all sports were grounded. And I was on Twitter one day. I put up a tweet about esports because of something I saw. And everybody started saying, we had lots of comments on a particular tweet. And someone said, why don't you even start something about this? And voila, that was the light bulb moment. For want of a better name, and that's why I was stuck with the name, we came up with Lagos Esports Forum, myself and a couple of other friends. Ife joined us just after our first Esports Conversation in May. We had the first one in May. By the time we were doing the second one in June, Ife was already on board. July, then we stopped that to move to other things. And for Lagos Esports Forum, our objectives are education, which is what the conversation does, engagement, which is what follows, tournaments, exposure to different things within the ecosystem, and empowerment. Empowerment is, like Cholwe mentioned, how do we now give something back to these games and everyone, stakeholders within the space. Yeah, so that's been my journey. And over the years, we got the Lagos Esports Forum to be part of the Global Esports Federation. And that's the most prestigious international organization. There are several others, but that's the most prestigious, I must say, based on what has been done over the years. And by February of 2021, I became a commissions member. So I sit on 2 commissions at the Global Esports Federation, the Education, Culture and Youth, and the International Relations and Development Commission there. And by February and by September 2021, I became Secretary General of the Africa Esports Development Federation. And that's where we're working on the Africa Esports Championships and a couple of other projects to bring development to esports space in the 54 countries in Africa.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you for that introduction. Thank you, Mr. Shire. So over to you, Mrs. Williams. Seeing that you are the founder of LagosMums, and LagosMums is a parenting community. And one of the things that LagosMums does is that they've been at the forefront when it comes to digital parenting. How can parents, raise digital savvy citizens, digital responsible digital citizens, and what are the things that parents can do? So this question is for you, Ma. Seeing the potential of esports, what do you think parents can do better to encourage their gaming kids?
Great question. I've been taking so many notes here, and I have 3. As you mentioned, with the whole parenting coaching space, it's just as what Shayo is doing with the esports and creating something different. It's really interesting when you're able to create something different under a banner of what has always been. So what I mean by that is there've always been parents, there'll always be parents. However, there is a way to be a more effective, intentional parent in the world that we live in. And what makes the times that we live in so different is the fact that it is at a digital age. It's digital, it's the 4th industrial revolution, and it's all around technology. So as parents, for us to raise children for a future that we don't know, that means we must be comfortable with raising them through what we don't know. So none of us have grown up in a world where we're also connected. None of us have grown up in a world where the new areas opening up, were things that we could never have thought about before, right? So from that perspective, I think with esports being just a new area, I do three things every time I come up with something new, and I'm thinking about how I relate it to my children, and I use this with clients as well. Is first of all to educate ourselves. So let's educate ourselves. The kind of what we're doing today. What is esports about? What is that space about? What does it mean to go pro in esports? And I really like what Chloe said about how to go pro, you must start casual. I also noted something down that all screen time is not created equal. In terms of raising responsible digital citizens, which is one of the big things that we push through LagosMums platform, and a lot of my training is around ensuring that we're raising responsible digital citizens, is to realize that not all screen time is created the same. So a child who's passive on screen time and just consuming content is not engaging, not being innovative, not maybe developing cognitive abilities as the child who's actually online, maybe playing a game and connecting with friends and thinking about the next move. And I learned that firsthand with my son. Getting him to read a book can take a lot of it, can be a bit of a challenge. In his mind, he doesn't believe in wasting time reading fiction. He's like, for what? I'll read a book that will end. What have I learned about some make-believe? That's his view. So we're constantly talking about, okay, can you read books in the areas that you're interested in? The other day, I noticed a huge package arrived at the house. And when we opened it, it was a thick book on this game called Elden Ring. And it's a huge book. And I said, oh, wow, what is this book about? And he opened up and explained it's some video game that he's gotten into that's very challenging. And he bought this book and a map that came with it to be able to study the strategy around how to go from level to level. And he was playing with one or two friends where they would laugh, they would engage, they would celebrate every time they got to a very tough level to the next. So my point being, when you educate yourself and you understand, you can tap into that. That is a child who's interested in video games, solving problems, and doing it in a collaborative environment. Those are a lot of the skills that even the future of jobs are looking for. So my first thing I would say as parents is encourage your child, no matter what space it is. And whatever your child is doing online, ask questions to understand why they are online, what they are enjoying. The next thing I say is empower our children to make the right choices. When you understand and you're not coming from a place of, you're just wasting your time online, rather you understand that all screen time is not created equal, you can then start to empower them to make the right choices. And that's where screen time comes in place, having filters in place, monitoring, letting them know not to talk to strangers online, obviously having times when they have to get off the devices, because there is a side of, being potentially addicted to certain things online, such as video gaming. So before, we don't want children to go to that extreme as well. So as parents, you must be aware, engage with them, discuss with them, but together. It's about communication, not just putting rules down and not communicating with them. And then to say, let's empathize with our children. They all have something they like, they don't like. They have things they enjoy and they don't enjoy. And it's important for us to listen. I really like what Peter's dad also said earlier, right? He supported him. He's asked him questions. He's giving him access to the tools that he needs to continue to develop in this particular space. So I'll just wrap up with that. Parents, educate yourself, understand what's going on, understand what's possible. For me, I got even more interested when I heard that there's something called Esports Scholarship. I said, really? All right, now, if we're going to do this, let's do it. So really, I think the world is really, really exciting right now. And as parents, we shouldn't be fearful or feel that, oh my God, I don't even understand what's happening. No, take some time to step in, and then you can help guide your children to make the right choices.
That's amazing. Take some time to understand these things, and then you can help guide your children into, all the opportunities that are available in esports. Thank you so much, Ma, for those points. That was really great. So over to you, Mr. Sayo. How can schools key into esports for kids?
So I'll pick up from where Yetty stopped. And that's to say that the schools themselves first need to understand the space. So because you cannot give what you don't have, that's one of the things we're taught growing up. You can't give what you don't have. So the schools need to understand what the potentials are. That's what will determine what you want to give the kids out there. I'd also like to add the fact that yes, indeed, there are esports scholarships now. We're seeing, athletes in athletics compete for schools in the US. We've seen just recently a very prominent young lady who plays tennis, Owolabi Quadri, just got a scholarship with a school in Florida. And she was playing tennis and studying there. Same thing is happening in the UK at the moment with esports. So those are potential opportunities for parents to tap into, and schools would be that foundation that will build them to that. So how do schools key into this? How do they key into this for kids? The first thing is to create a curriculum around it. So I remember when we were growing up way back, we used to have this extracurricular activities every Friday. I think some schools do it Wednesday, some schools do it Friday after 1 p.m. when you close from school. It's 2 hours. The Bible Society, there's Christian Club, there's literary and debating and all that. It's time to create an esports club. That will afford the kids an opportunity to not only play, but they also learn other things that are within the ecosystem. So we need to create a curriculum around it. That would help the kids. Second of all is for them to now have these facilities available. So if you have the curriculum and you have the kids, a cluster being built, then they need access to consoles, to PCs, and of course, quality mobiles. They can have their own mobile, but they can have mobiles that would be much more better than what they have to actually be able to play some certain level of mobile games. So that being said, I think those are the two major things. After that, then we can start seeking opportunities to expose them to other cultures. So 3 levels: start a cluster, which is in starting an esports club in schools, create an esports facility within the school. It can be one room, it can be a small room with just a few of these things I talked about. Put a PlayStation, put an Xbox, and put a few PCs there. So these kids can get to experience these things right there. And that may just be a way to even control it. So even while they're at home, the parents let them know that you're looking forward to Friday in school to actually experience this thing, and that will be the point from which we'll build these kids from. Then, ultimately, like I said, that opens them up to opportunities on the international scene, either for other African countries, in Kenya, South Africa, and lots of the North African countries doing so much with esports. They can be exposed to those opportunities, and of course, outside Africa, UK, Saudi Arabia, most recently doing so much. We've seen Malaysia put money into their budget for esports specifically, and so many other countries like that. So the opportunities on the international scene is big, but can build from here, and the schools will be a viable platform to build from.
We can't hear you.
Your mic is muted, Ife.
I'm sorry. I'm cutting out a bit. So I was saying, Shaya, thank you so much for that insight. Yetty, with the knowledge you have about esports now, I want you to take this question also. How do you think schools can key into it?
Yeah. I think just the same way schools continue to add additional extracurricular to their school roster. So like Shayo mentioned, a lot of schools nowadays would have examples like STEM, sports, swimming, music. For example, we know over the last decade or two, there's been a lot of push around STEM, for example, and getting more girls, for example, into STEM, being comfortable with that. So I think esports is the same thing, and if schools were to understand that, this is a viable area. It is not time wasting, and which is why I noted earlier that not all screen time is created the same. Not all screen time is equal in terms of what it's exposing our children to. Esports has a lot of cognitive developmental aspects to it if it is controlled. So I think schools can start to be one of the forerunners and saying, we are going to create an esports extracurriculum club. They can start with that. Right, they can find the companies that can bring the tools into the school. So if a school is not ready to invest in, a cluster, a room for them to play that, they can participate or find a company that's willing to come and bring all the tools, have a club on, 1 day a week. And from that, they will then start to see the interest. And like you mentioned, they would also control. What we find is that what happens in a school environment plays such a big part in how our children have relationships with tech. So if the school environment is discussing with them the right way to use, these devices, talking to them about screen time, talking to them about digital literacy, about citizenship, responsible digital citizenship, you find that it goes hand in hand with what mom and dad might be saying at home. But this school is not doing anything at all to help them use it responsibly. It's almost like, what are my parents always talking about, telling me to get off? So I think those are some of the ways schools can immediately get on board, to say, how can we bring it into the school environment? Start small and then see what the interest is like, and then start to enter your children into tournaments. The same way they go to Dubai to do what's that sport? World Games and all of those things, swimming tournaments. Yes.
Yeah.
And we start getting into esports as well. And I think it'll be something that everybody's going to benefit from. Because one last thing to say was when Chloe talked about the fact that there doesn't have to be the separation between a boy and a girl. And I think that's so true. Esports, from what I know now, and I'm understanding more of, is a mental game. It's about mental dexterity. It's about being able to anticipate and, be fast with your fingers. My son tries to teach me to play. I can't even figure out the controls, talk less of remembering jump, run, like this. So, it's very dynamic. And I think we should not. I really am keen that we don't separate it to a boy versus girl situation. Because if we're saying that our brains can focus and do the same things, why are we separating on something that's totally cognitive? But I will end there.
Okay, thank you so much, Yetty. So for parents that are watching, I'm sure the question they would be thinking now is, okay, fine, we've said all these things about esports. How can they get started? I think that's a question. They'll okay, my child likes to play, but really, how can we really get started? And I'll pose that question to Sayo.
All right, first thanks. So how do you get started? Just start. Just start is what I'll say. It goes back to you understanding what your kid likes. So my daughter, I'll use myself as an example. My daughter loves to play Mortal Kombat. It's a very violent game. So I'm trying to tilt her towards a Sonic or something else, but she really loves it and plays it so well. And that's because of an event we did when the new Mortal Kombat movie was released in April 2021. We had an activation, so the game was always, I was always, trying to understand the game because of the experience we created, the game experience we created for the new movie when it premiered. That's when she caught the interest, and she was about 8, 10, she'll be 10 this year. So just start. So I allow her play it, but not as much as I would have loved to if it wasn't that violent, and that's because of the nature of that game. So you need to start and tailor the child's preference to what they love. And even if you're going to change it, like I am trying to do, it will be a gradual process. It's not like you would knock her off, because now she's catching an interest in football, and that is much more difficult to teach. So she wants me to be the coach. I'm not a coach, but I will try to be a coach for my daughter. So you need to be interested in what your child loves, then be able to build that child from there. Your interest is what would help them go further. Interest, encouragement. So, for example, even when she started playing Mortal Kombat, we're always playing together, and I would beat her and tell her that you need to learn to beat me. Not because I'm not even the best at it, but she's just coming up. So there are times when I allow her win, and she won't even notice it. So your encouragement as a parent is what takes the child to the next level and gets better. Like I said, she is very good now. Really, really good. So your encouragement is what takes your child to the next level. Let your child just start. Expose them to other things. So I'm telling my daughter about scholarships. I'm telling her about opportunities that are available. I'm telling her how she can get to play other people online without even playing against me, because that's the only opponent she knows for now, apart from playing the computer. So those are the few things we can start to build from. We build from the back end before we expose them to what is available out there. When that is done, I believe that we'll have kids who are digitally responsible, kids who are ready for the world, because we know the remaining challenges that comes with the exposure to the digital space and all that. And yeah, that would be a good way to start with a kid.
Okay, thank you so much, Sayo. I have a few comments and questions here. Ideal says esports scholarship. That would be amazing. I'm sure when he heard Yetty speak about the esports scholarship, he said that would be amazing. And then there's also a question from Hauser. He says, is becoming a pro player in esports the only career path in esports? No, it is not. But for the esports conversation now is catered to parents and kids. They are just like traditional sports, you have different fields. You can be a coach, you can even be a nutritionist. But for now that we're speaking to the kids, the introduction now is for them to know what gaming is, how esports works. So now we're just talking about the gaming side where they can actually play, they can compete against friends, um, and other opponents. But on the grand scheme of things, it is just like traditional sports. You can even be on the media side, like I do. I report stories through the AfroGamer. I talk about what is happening in Africa in terms of esports. Am I a professional gamer? No, I'm not. I'm sure I can even beat the person next to me. So there are different opportunities for you in esports. But for the kids, it's more about knowing that such an industry exists and they can consider it as a career path. So I hope I've been able to answer your question. And I would hand off back to Shayo to just give us closing remarks. I know something most people would want to know will be what next.
Sorry, 1 second. Just before the closing remarks, I wanted to just
Yes.
add something quickly to what you said about the is it only going pro? I think it's really important when parents educate themselves about what's going on in the space and you bring that information to your children. Can I just say, you seem cool in your child's eye when you can come and say, that particular area you're interested in, did you know that there can be all these other areas attached to being in the sports space? And I find that when you have those kind of conversation where you bring something to the children that maybe they didn't know about this space that they think mom and dad have no clue about, it opens up a world of conversation where they're like, oh wow, you actually went to research this space that I'm interested in. So as a parenting tip, intentional parenting tip, to find a way to open the door for more conversations, you go and do some research and come to them when they are playing whatever it is they're interested in, maybe in esports, and ask them, did you know that there's actually life coaches that are attached to pro esports players, because they need to help them ensure that, in terms of their mental health is also being very well taken care of, even as they are pro esports players. That opens the whole conversation as well. So I wanted to add that, my parenting hat is always on, intentional parenting. How do you make sure, that you're having the conversation? And that's one easy way to do it as well.
Thank you so much,
Valid.
Yetty, for that.
Very valid.
Very, 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 very valid. Yes, that is. I hope parents who would watch this will be able to pick that. I know that it's not just walking past and say, okay, you're just playing game, but rather, looking at what they are doing and having that conversation and even doing research, like you said. So, yes. Okay, so Shayo, over to you.
Yeah, so first of all, let me say thank you to Yetty and LagosMums for the opportunity to collaborate on this. Thank you for opening your doors to us, your network, and showing them the experiences available in esports. It's just the beginning. We believe that there's much more to come in terms of the enlightenment series. We believe that this is just, we just scratched the surface. Like you mentioned, there's a lot to be done. One of the people I was trying to get on this particular session was a professor from Salford who is into esports. But because of the time, he couldn't make it, but we can keep that conversation open so people can get the opportunity. So those are some of the things we'll be able to show people, that we didn't just say this thing, it's actually reality. He and a couple of others can come in and tell us more about how people can then latch onto that opportunity in terms of esports education, which is a big deal. Education, I believe, for us is the foundation. When you learn something, then you would be able to know how to navigate it. Like I said, I played football. I wanted to play pro football, but I couldn't play pro football. But because of lack of education, I didn't even know there was any other thing I could do until I finished university and law school and all that. And now to pivot back to talk football on air which was years after. If I knew about that, I probably would have started earlier than, the time I started doing it on radio and on TV. So education is very key, and I believe we'll do that. Let me also thank our Zambian delegation. Interestingly, all Zambians. That's Peter Chilembo, senior and junior. It was nice meeting them. And Cholwe, of course, Cholwe Shabukali. It was nice meeting them just last month in Lilongwe, Malawi, during the Africa Esports Championships. And I believe that there's still much more to come. Like Peter said, he wants to win more gold medals. We believe him, and we're waiting for him to actually go all out to achieve that in coming years, not just on the African continent, but on the global scene. And I think he has the potential to achieve that. Talking about what's to come next, I believe that we would have a few activities that goes beyond just the talk. But let's give the kids an experience of what is to come, whether on a competitive level or just an experience. So one of the things we believe and understand is beyond competition, there's even the need for the kids to have an experience of what we're talking about. And that's something I believe we would try to build on over the next few months with some of the schools within Lagos and see what can be done with that. And the reason or the end game for that is not even for the kids from these schools to just compete. I believe that we can then start to entrench esports clubs in some of the schools within the state, which is very key. That would be a good platform for every other thing to happen, even without any activity from either Lagos Esports Forum or LagosMums as regards esports. And that, I believe, will be happening over the next few months. And we'll start all the communication and details about that when we fine-tune the little aspects of this particular thing. Let me thank our co-hosts also, Nifesi and Ife. Thank you so much for a great job you've done. And it's been a fun time, and I'm looking forward to this and much more in coming months. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
Before we go, Yetty, do you have any closing remarks? And we'll just round off with that.
No, I'm just really excited about this space, and similar to Sayo, there's a whole different career path I probably would have taken if I didn't feel I had to be science or arts back in the day. So it's very interesting that we're continuing to have this. And I see a comment here from Tosin. Education is key that opens the doors of possibilities for industries like this. Absolutely. When we're educated, we know that we can make sure that our children, especially in Africa, we are not just passive consumers of a lot of these tools that are available and platforms available. So I'm excited to be part of this conversation, and I look forward to doing much more Sayo to continue to talk about this and encourage parents and their children. And Ifesi, thank you for being such an amazing host. And as always, you can connect with us on all our platforms at LagosMums, because we have all kinds of events, seminars, trainings, coaching for you to be the best parent possible for the unique child that you are raising. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for that also. So for everyone, thank you for tuning in, and for those who would still watch after the live show, it's still available. So you can watch, leave your comments in the comment section. If you're looking for ways to connect with LagosMums, you can also just drop it there, or like Yetty has said, how you can connect with them, and we'll go ahead and respond. And thank you also. Yes, I know we didn't thank Sayo and Yetty, but thank you so much for taking time out of your busy Saturday to speak with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, everyone.
Right. Bye.